There is a truth so profound, so disruptive that once you understand it, you'll never look at your life the same way again. Nothing around you is real until you decide it is. The world you're living in isn't solid. It isn't fixed. It isn't waiting for you to figure it out. It's waiting for you to observe it into existence. This isn't just spiritual poetry, it's quantum physics. In the now famous double-slit experiment, scientists observed something strange. When electrons weren't being watched, they behaved like waves, existing in multiple states at once, scattered across probabilities. But when an observer entered the equation, the electrons collapsed into particles, into form, into something real. The act of observation changed the outcome. The observer created the reality, which means you are not a passive character in the universe. You are not here to suffer through a script you didn't write. You are the one directing the quantum stage. You are the observer, and more than that, the collapser of infinite possibility into single reality. And yet, most people live as if the world is already decided, as if their circumstances are permanent. They wake up every day and replay the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same emotional loops. They keep observing what is, and by doing that, they keep recreating it over and over again. Not because they want to, but because they don't know how to look differently. But what if you did? What if you stopped observing your life through the lens of limitation and began to observe with intention, with faith, with curiosity? What if, instead of seeing lack, you chose to see potential? Instead of reacting to the past, you started responding to the future calling you? This is the invitation of quantum manifestation. And it starts right here. Because reality is not something that happens to you. It happens through you. The quantum field, the invisible ocean of vibrating energy that underlies everything, is alive with possibilities. It doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you observe with energy, emotion, and coherence. The field isn't listening for words, it's waiting for frequency. So I'll ask you, where is your attention? Every moment, your focus is like a flashlight, illuminating one version of reality over another. Are you shining that light on fear, doubt, scarcity? Or are you beaming it toward trust, gratitude, vision? Most people are trying to change their lives from the outside in. But real transformation, real reality shifting, begins when you change what you choose to observe. Because every time you emotionally engage with a thought, you observe it. Every time you dwell on what's not working, you feed it energy. You make it more real. But every time you tune into a higher possibility, even if it hasn't happened yet, you bring it closer. You begin the process of collapsing it into form. This is not metaphysical fantasy. It is quantum fact. As Dr. Joedispensa says, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. And that energy is what instructs the quantum field. Not your effort, not your struggle, your awareness, your state of being. And that means you don't have to force your way into a new life. You simply have to become the observer who sees a new life already forming. You have to trust that reality is not locked. It's fluid, it's responsive, it's sensitive to your focus. So if everything around you is waiting to be observed into being, what will you choose to see next? This is the beginning of a new way of existing. Not as someone hoping the world changes, but as someone choosing how to engage with the field, moment by moment, as a conscious observer, a deliberate creator. Let this be the start, because what comes next will forever shift how you see, feel, and create your reality. Your consciousness is not confined to the brain. It is not trapped by space, time, or circumstance. It is the invisible sculptor of reality, the silent creative force that shapes form from the field. The world you see is not the cause of your inner state, it is the reflection of it, and that reflection begins long before any action or event. Thinkers like Dr. Joedispensa, Amit Goswami, and Bob Proctor have spent decades bridging the gap between quantum physics and spiritual wisdom, showing us that consciousness is primary, and matter is derivative. Amit Goswami explicitly stated, "Consciousness creates reality, not the other way around." This inversion upends everything you thought you knew about life. It turns you from passive observer into powerful creator. But what does this actually mean? It means that your intention, your directed attention, begins to waveform possibilities into particles. That what you observe with sustained awareness collapses into form. The field around you is neutral, but your awareness gives it direction. Your attention provides it with shape. In the quantum realm, particles behave like waves until observed. In the field of human creation, your attention functions as the observing instrument. It doesn't need action. It needs presence. It doesn't require method. It requires coherence. It doesn't depend on external triggers. It depends on internal alignment. When your mind merges with feeling, emotion fused with intention, consciousness imprints a blueprint onto the field. That blueprint becomes the silent instruction that begins reshaping your internal landscape and eventually manifests outwardly in form. Some call this intention setting or creative manifestation. Others simply call it quantum creation. This is where spiritual practice meets observable science. Joedispensa brings attention to measurable shifts in brain waves, physiology, and electromagnetic fields when people hold coherent intent with emotion. Bob Proctor points out that it's not your thoughts that paint reality. It's your energy behind your thoughts. It's not the spoken wish, it's the state that sustains it. Consciousness is not just personal, it is non-local. This means that your awareness can influence realities even at a distance, even before things exist in physical form. You don't need proximity. You need presence. You don't need external validation. You need inner conviction. And this is the revolutionary shift. The world outside is not the cause, it is the effect. Your consciousness is the root, the soil, and the seed. The field is the fertile ground, and your observation is the gentle activation that allows potential to sprout into existence. So the next time you feel powerless, remember, you are not powerless. You are an infinitely creative being, a conscious agent shaping the world through the precision of your attention and the purity of your state. That is your invitation now, to pause, to breathe, to bring awareness to your inner world, to realize that consciousness is not passive, it is profoundly creative, and that the reality you experience is not just unfolding for you, it is emerging through you. Creation does not begin with effort, it begins with focus. At every moment, your life is being shaped by what you're giving your energy to, not what you say you want, not what you hope for, but what you consistently observe, react to, feel into. Attention is not passive, it is magnetic. Every second you are awake, you are tuning your internal frequency, and that frequency is giving the quantum field instructions. Your attention is a tool more powerful than action, willpower, or discipline. Why? Because energy follows awareness. Wherever your attention lingers, your energy collects, amplifies, and begins to sculpt your field into form. That is why the same thoughts produce the same feelings, which lead to the same decisions, which sustain the same reality. This is not just metaphor. It's energetic physics in motion. Your emotional focus determines the vibrational quality of your field. Your thoughts don't just describe your life. They activate matching timelines. So when you keep focusing on what's not working, what's missing, or what hurts, the quantum field responds. Not by judging, but by reflecting. If you continue observing your current life as just how it is, you unintentionally reinforce it. Your inner state of observation becomes the blueprint for what the universe builds next. You look at what is, emotionally react, and through that loop, you observe again. Same input, same output. But when you shift your attention toward a new possibility, one that's aligned with your highest vision, and do it with emotional presence, you begin to collapse a new version of reality. You stop rerunning the past and start vibrating the future. This is the secret. Few are willing to practice with discipline, to stop observing what is, and to start observing what can be, as if it already is. That's how quantum change begins. You're not faking, you're focusing. You're becoming the observer of a higher pattern until that pattern stabilizes and materializes. The old self wants to constantly check the facts of your current life. It wants to validate fears, repeat memories, measure progress. But the quantum self knows that the only true reality is the one you emotionally stabilize inside. If you observe limitation, you expand limitation. If you observe potential, you unlock it. So here is the energetic shift. Observation must become intentional. Focus must become sacred. You are not here to mindlessly witness what already exists. You are here to witness the invisible into form. Each time you give your full presence to what you wish to experience, love, abundance, peace, vitality, and embody the emotion of already being it, your attention becomes the activator, not the hope, not the wish, but the internal decision to observe what the world has not yet caught up to. This is the art of conscious creation, choosing what to see before it can be seen, holding the frequency of your desired timeline before the evidence shows up, not because you're delusional, but because the field is listening to your observation, not your conditions. And here's the powerful truth. You don't have to eliminate every limiting thought. You only need to become more devoted to your desired focus than your familiar fear. The quantum field does not need perfection. It needs consistency. It needs coherence between what you choose to focus on and who you're becoming inside. So the invitation is simple and radical. Begin watching your own focus like it's a sacred compass. Interrupt the urge to observe what you don't want. Withdraw your attention from narratives that hurt. And, with gentleness, devotion, and practice, place your awareness where your soul is calling you to go. Because what you choose to observe with love cannot help but become real. You were never just placed in this life to passively witness what unfolds. You came here to sculpt it with your presence. Many people still believe they are waiting for something to change. Waiting for the job, the love, the health, the opportunity. But in the quantum world, nothing moves until you observe it into motion. Nothing becomes real until your consciousness tells the field, "This is what I choose to stabilize." This is the moment when your identity shifts, from someone reacting to reality to someone collapsing it into form. You are not just observing this movie, you are directing it. You are the lens, the light, the script, and the screen. Every time you pay attention to something with emotion, you are assigning it weight in the quantum field. You're not just seeing it. You're collapsing a wave of probability into a particle of experience. That's why certain patterns repeat. You keep observing them. You feed them with attention. And the universe, being infinitely responsive, reflects them again. This is not punishment. It's precision. The quantum field isn't giving you what you deserve. It's giving you what you reinforce. Through observation, through emotion, through identity. This is what makes you so powerful, and why so many people unconsciously live out cycles they no longer want. But here's the shift. When you begin to observe a new story, even before it exists, you begin to fold new possibilities into reality, not because you forced them, but because you witnessed them long enough, clearly enough, with enough emotional coherence that they had no choice but to respond. That's the essence of collapse. Possibility becomes presence, and it happens through you. When you truly grasp that your observation holds this much power, you stop outsourcing your transformation to the world. You stop saying, "When life gives me peace, I'll feel peaceful," and start saying, "When I observe peace in me, life will mirror it back." Imagine you are watching two realities. One is a timeline where you're still looping the old emotions, still proving your limitations, still tracking everything that hasn't worked. And the other is a timeline that already exists, where you've become the version of yourself who is free, joyful, abundant, loved. Both timelines are present in the quantum field, but only one becomes physical, the one you choose to observe with depth and devotion. That is what acting as if really means. It's not pretending. It's not delusion. It's choosing to observe what isn't visible until it becomes. You become the collapser when you stop reacting and start deciding. When you look at your current circumstances and say, "This is not all there is. I choose to observe something greater." You claim authorship over the field. And as you continue, the gap between inner and outer closes. What you used to imagine becomes what you begin to experience, because you observed it as truth before the evidence existed. So here is your invitation. Start observing your future self as if they're already here. Feel their energy. Picture how they move, how they speak, what they believe. And hold that image in your heart like it's already your reflection. Because in a universe governed by observation, the most magnetic thing you can do is see clearly what others don't yet see and become it. There is a moment, and subtle but profound, when you realize the universe isn't testing you, punishing you, or withholding anything from you. It's just responding. The quantum field isn't emotional. It doesn't see what you want and ask if you're worthy of it. It doesn't check your past, your karma, or your goals. It only reads one thing: your frequency. It mirrors it, faithfully, precisely, every time. That's why life sometimes seems confusing, because your conscious mind is asking for one thing while your vibration is radiating something completely different. You may be visualizing abundance but vibrating in scarcity. You may be affirming love but resonating with fear of rejection. You may be dreaming of freedom but emotionally tethered to control, doubt, or comparison. And the field? It doesn't debate or evaluate. It simply reflects back to you what you are being consistently. It's not personal, it's vibrational. This is the great shift of awareness. Manifestation isn't about convincing the universe of what you want. It's about tuning your energy into alignment with the version of you who already has it. That version of you already exists. It's already alive in the field. But you can't experience it from a frequency that contradicts it. The field cannot deliver the frequency of peace through the vibration of chaos. It cannot bring you the experience of worth through the emotion of self-doubt. It's not because you're unworthy. It's because the vibrations simply don't match. So what do? You stop focusing on controlling outcomes and start curating your inner state. You begin the sacred discipline of observing your own thoughts, not judging them, but becoming aware of them. You feel into your emotional baseline, not just how you feel once in a while, but how you feel habitually, because it's your baseline that broadcasts the signal. It's the frequency you hold when no one is watching. That sets the tone for your reality. When you start taking responsibility for what you're sending out, everything changes. You shift from victim to creator. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What am I vibrating that's calling this in?" Not from guilt, not from blame, but from awareness and from power. The field is your mirror. But most people keep trying to change the reflection without changing the face they're showing it. They try to manifest more money without healing their story of lack. They try to find love without becoming someone who feels lovable. They try to shift their outer world without ever examining their inner one. And the field continues to respond. So here's the moment of activation. Ask yourself right now, what am I consistently observing? What am I emotionally repeating? What frequency am I living in? Not just when I meditate, but in everyday life. This is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about choosing over and over again to return to the frequency of who you want to be, until that frequency becomes familiar, and then it becomes reality. When you realize the field is neutral, you reclaim all your power. Because if it's not judging you, it's also not limiting you. There are no energetic gatekeepers, only energetic agreements, and you can renegotiate them starting now. With every breath, every belief, every moment of presence, you're casting votes into the field. You're saying, "This is who I am," and the universe responds, "As you wish." So let this be the shift. You don't have to earn your dream life. You just have to match it. You have to broadcast it. And you have to do it with the emotional integrity of someone who's already there. That's why this moment matters. This is your moment to stop reacting and start radiating, to stop begging and start broadcasting, to stop explaining and start embodying. Because the field is already listening. If this message resonated with you, type in the comments below. I am choosing what to see. Let the act of writing it be a vibrational anchor, a signal to the universe that you are now watching life through the lens of creation, not reaction. There is a place within you that is not moved by appearances nor shaken by circumstance. It is the part of you that simply sees, without panic, without projection, without noise. This is the frequency of the silent observer, and it holds more power than any effort you've ever made. The silent observer doesn't try to manifest through force. It doesn't chase outcomes or argue with the present moment. It knows something deeper, that reality rearranges itself, not through noise but through stillness, not through wishing but through witnessing with presence. In the quantum world, everything exists as potential, a wave of infinite probabilities. But that wave doesn't collapse because you struggle. It collapses when you observe with clarity, when you see with certainty, when your presence becomes coherent with what you desire. This is why many people try for years to create change and feel like nothing moves. Because they're still observing their current life with resistance, still watching their fears more than their future. And the field, it obeys the lens you look through. The power isn't in the words you speak, it's in the frequency you observe from. When you tune into the field as the silent observer, detached from panic, free from judgment, and anchored in faith, you become magnetic. The things you used to chase begin to move toward you, not because you did more, but because you became more empty of noise and more full of being. This isn't passive, it's one of the most active disciplines you can develop. To witness your life without falling into the illusion that what you see is final. To hold space for what wants to emerge, even when there's no sign of it yet. To stay in your center while the world moves around you, because you're not waiting anymore, you're aligning. The silent observer is not disconnected. It is radically connected, but without the desperation that distorts the signal. It watches from above with a calm knowing that every scene is still unfolding, that nothing is set until you observe it with your soul. In this frequency, you remember, reality is not a force outside of you. It's an echo of your awareness. And the more silent, certain, and coherent your awareness becomes, the clearer the echo. So how do you live from this place? You start by practicing presence. You train your nervous system to feel safe in the unknown. You release the habit of constant analysis. You observe your thoughts like clouds, letting them pass without chasing or holding. You breathe deeper. You slow down. You return, again and again, to the part of you that simply sees. And from that seeing, creation flows. The world will still offer distractions. Old patterns will try to pull you back. The ego will whisper that you're not doing enough. But each time you return to the frequency of the silent observer, you restore your alignment. You remind the field who's leading, and you watch as life reorganizes itself to meet your vibration. This is the true seat of power. You don't need to manipulate outcomes. You don't need to perform spiritual rituals out of anxiety. You just need to observe, with heart, with presence, with belief. Because in this frequency, you are no longer separate from what you seek. You are the field itself, remembering itself. And the moment you truly see that, the wave collapses. The illusion breaks, the miracle lands. So here's the final invitation. Let go of needing the proof. Become the presence that attracts it. Release the striving. Embody the frequency. Don't just visualize your dream life. Observe it. From the space within you that knows it's already real. Because the silent observer doesn't create by accident. It creates by coherence. It chooses what to watch, and then watches it come alive. Let this be your signal. A shift in how you meet your world, and an activation of the creator you already are.